Hello everyone, welcome back to AutoTrend TV. I'm your Viprajesh again from Chandra Hyundai Coimbatore today, and I'm here with the brand new facelifted Hyundai Verna SX optional 1.5 liter naturally aspirated petrol engine with a manual transmission. I'm going to test how does this naturally aspirated petrol engine performs when you compare with the turbo petrol engine. So let's go on for a detailed test drive. Yes folks, I'm right now inside the brand new Hyundai Verna petrol manual variant. This here is the 1.5 liter naturally aspirated petrol, and let's see how does this naturally aspirated petrol engine performs on Coimbatore roads. First, let me just turn on the engine. Now of course, typically being a Hyundai engine, it is fantastically refined. You will have to check twice before you actually start moving, because you need to be sure whether the engine is turned on or not, because it is that silent. And the gears are of course very slick. Now I'm driving this non-turbocharged petrol version because of course the turbo petrol has been driven by many people. You may already know how the turbo petrol performs. It performs exceptionally well. Yeah. But this being a naturally aspirated 115 horsepower petrol engine, I mean, it is the more affordable one, and it should be just about decent or good enough to drive, right? So that's the reason I'm taking a drive of this version of the Hyundai Verna, and initial impression is that it is very good. The NVH is almost non-existent, and the throttle response also is pretty good, and it is pretty sprightly as well. Especially in the lower gears, it feels really sprightly. I mean, definitely it may not have the torque of the, say, the 1.4 or the 1.6 or even the 1.5 turbo diesel, but the performance seems very good at lower speeds, especially in city conditions. Now let me just take it to sort of moderate traffic zones, and before that let me just turn on the aircon. Yeah, I've got a free stretch over here, and it is very nice. Of course, if you cross say around 3500 rpm, there is a significant level of boom from this engine, despite being a 4-cylinder. I think that it's kind of sporty. It is never intrusive and it's never harsh. It is pretty good, and the braking too is very confident. The overall feel from this engine is very good. The chassis also seems really very capable. Of course, it is easily capable to handle the power of the turbo petrol engine, so this is nothing at all. Now let me just take a U-turn. And the steering is very light. However, despite being light at lower speeds, the steering performs very well if you increase the speeds. The suspension is good enough. It is really good enough. Even though it has that slight bit of firmness, it is really very good. So now let's go on for a free stretch. Yes folks, here's a view of the dashboard from the rear seats. Of course, you may clearly see how the dashboard looks like. Even though being sort of a mid-range Hyundai mid-time period sedan, it still looks modern. Of course, there have been certain significant updates to the interior, such as the addition of this large touchscreen infotainment system and the Bluelink connectivity features. This interior feels properly comfortable. The front seats are exceptionally comfortable, and additionally you also get ventilated seats. As you can see, the front seats alone are ventilated, and you have 3 different settings for that. So driving this car in city traffic is very easy. I mean, it does not feel like a large sedan at all. It is just a breeze, and this manual transmission is very slick. The clutch is also very light. The gear shifts are precise. The ratios too are very good. As you can see, it does not feel anything. It is so light, so easy to drive despite being a large sedan. Now talking about features, of course you can see this digital instrument cluster, which is a part of this facelifted upgrade. and it definitely kind of resembles the BMW range, the latest BMW range. You get the center MID screen which you can customize for your display. On the left side is the speedometer, and the good thing is that despite providing everything digital, of course there is also digital and analog sort of readouts for both the speedometer and the tachometer. So you can see the tachometer changing also. Now I am doing around 1900 RPM and it easily shows that in digital format readout as well. The speedo is also shown in the same pattern, and this MID, as you can see, shows you the average economy and tire pressure monitoring system, everything, whatever you need. You can easily have a look at that. You even have a lot of settings over there. Now this here is the tire pressure monitoring system display, and everything is perfect. Everything falls into hand very easily. Everything in terms of ergonomics is perfect. You get the auto dimming IRVM as well, which is very handy, and the automatic climate control, as I already said, it is amazing in terms of cooling. Now talking about other convenient stuff. Yeah, despite the steering wheel having telescopic and tilt adjustment, other things also include cruise control, automatic headlamps, and for safety, on this top spec SX optional variant, you also receive 6 airbags with ESP traction control along with ABS, EBD and all. So this is the real deal. It has almost all the features you will ever need on a mid-size sedan, and you also have this electric sunroof. So it has basically everything you need. I don't think you will feel the lack of any features, because you also get leather seats, leather upholstery, and I don't know, the list goes on and on. Yeah, this is a very well equipped sedan. Now enough about features, let's just talk about the drive. Now this here is the rough stretch of Racecourse Coimbatore, and let's see how this car performs on rough roads. Yeah, I really don't feel the need for a turbo petrol engine, because this engine is really good enough. Unless you want the additional oomph, the additional punch, the additional torque from the turbo petrol engine, this is good enough. Now to check the actual drivability of this engine, I'm just slotting it into third and doing around 30 km/h. Even if I put my foot down at 30, there is some strong shove from this engine. I don't feel underpowered anywhere. There is a good amount of power on axis, and yeah, this engine is also likely to be more economical when compared to the turbo if you are driving sanely. So it is a win-win situation. Now, as I already said, I had reset the mileage meter when I started the drive, and it is easily showing around 12.4 km/L driving in city conditions. I have not taken this car on empty roads, say free stretches, but this car performs very well in terms of engine response and mileage as well. The suspension is also very composed. Now I'm just taking this speed hump at 35, and of course you may have seen that the jerks are almost non-existent. The suspension performs very well, even though it has that slight bit of firmness, that slight firm edge. It soaks up everything rather very well. Of course, it could be just that bit better, but still it is really very good enough for most part. Yes folks, I am driving on Walkaround bypass stretch over here, Coimbatore, and I can probably get to explore some of this engine's capabilities over here. Now I have put my foot down around 60 km/h in fourth gear, and of course there is that slight bit of hesitation before it actually pulls, but it's still fine. Now if I downshift to third, of course it is a altogether different animal, and it pulls very strong all the way up to 4000 RPM before it actually beeps at you to reduce the speed. Yeah, this engine likes to be revved, but not that much. It is smooth. It is very, very smooth. Don't get me wrong. It is exceptionally smooth, and the performance too is very, very strong. However, it does not like to be revved beyond 3,500 RPM, especially the fact that it does not have, say, much of that shove beyond that point. Now, driving at high speeds, this engine is beautiful. Of course, I have not reached high speeds yet, but even if you want to maintain, say, around 120 km/h on free highways, that is easily capable. This engine is great. The tuning is really very good, and the suspension also barely shows you anything. Yeah, even these expansion joints, the flyover joints, they are not filtered. It is really very good. Most of those bumps are absorbed very, very well. Now I would like to show you that feature which I already shared, the DRVM. As you can see, this here is the icon for that. If you press that, the camera quality is surprisingly very, very good, and you can even monitor, say, whatever is behind you. If you are in a tight traffic situation, say a traffic jam or something, and you have your annoying cab driver behind you, you can also monitor that for two-wheelers, for trucks, whatever nuisance this road throws at you. And talking about turning radius, of course it may not be the best, but yeah, it is capable enough. Now, as you already saw, the steering wheel is amazingly light at lower speeds, while it gets pretty easily communicative at higher speeds. Of course, it is not as say direct as say Volkswagen or Ford steering wheels, but there is that good bit of enthusiasm, and in terms of punch, it delivers a whole lot. I barely filled any of the bumps. The suspension is exceptionally well, really, really very good. And handling this car in city traffic also is very easy. I mean, I don't know what to say. This is one really good to drive mid-size sedan if you want to have all the features you need and just that bit more premiumness as well. However, my grouse is that the interior plastic quality could have been improved on certain frequently touched and viewed points. Say, for instance, this dashboard material is hard. It is just hard plastic, and nothing has been done to improve that feel. That is, say, an off thing when you compare with the other things on this interior, because the interior looks really very good and it has got all the features. And you also get really good touch points on the door pads, say this leather finish on the door pads, and you also get this sunroof. The seats also are leather, the steering wheel is leather, but this plastic, I mean, that could have been better. So yeah, that was all about the drive. Now you will understand that why the Hyundai Verna is a really good seller and sells, see, neck and neck with its rivals. So let's go on to the showroom and conclude this review.
Before we conclude this review, let's just take a quick walk through the details of the Hyundai Verna's exterior and interior. This being the SX optional variant, you get all the features you need on a mid-size sedan. For example, you get this large chrome grille, which is a part of the facelift and looks far more aggressive than before. You also get all LED headlamps on this top spec variant, along with LED DRLs and projector fog lamps. Moving on towards the sides, you get to see these 16-inch dual-tone alloy wheels, which look rather good on this mid-size sedan. Apart from that, you also receive certain chrome detailing on the window lines and on the door handles as well. This being the top spec variant, you also receive an electric sunroof, which is clearly visible. A shark fin antenna is a part of standard equipment, whereas moving on towards the rear you get to see LED tail lamps which also look really very good. The reverse parking camera is mounted in the number plate housing, and the rear windshield also gets defogger. The rear bumper too gets chrome detailing, and the design itself is quite different for this facelifted model. It gets a diffuser like treatment which kind of makes the Verna look much more sportier than before. Now let's get inside this car to check out the features. Yes folks, I'm right now inside the brand new facelifted Hyundai Verna SX optional variant, and this is how the interior looks like. Well, let's just start talking about features because I have already reviewed the SX optional variant of the Hyundai Verna. Now in terms of features, of course, you get a beautifully leather-wrapped steering wheel with cruise control and the controls for the digital instrument cluster. You also get audio controls on the left side, and just behind the steering wheel you get automatic headlamp with the headlamp stalks on the right side and the wiper stalks on the left side. You also get the push button start just behind the steering wheel on the left side of the steering column, and on the right side of the steering column you get the controls for the electronic stability program and traction control, along with the controls, the switches for the interior light dimming and the headlamp leveler scroller. Now, this being the updated facelifted Hyundai Verna, you get this new touchscreen system which is bigger than before and provides with a lot of features, including Bluelink connectivity, which also is paired to the interior IRVM. As you can see, you also get the telematic controls, including SOS button and emergency recovery and all those stuff. So that is quite nice. The steering wheel is adjustable for rake and reach, so that is quite nice, and the driver seat also is adjustable for height as standard, so that is quite nice again. Now coming to the center console, you get this large 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system which also provides inbuilt navigation, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay and Bluelink connectivity. To show you that, let me just turn on the ignition. And that is how everything looks. Well, immediately it looks far more premium than the pre-facelift version because you get this BMW-esque digital instrument cluster which looks absolutely fabulous, except for the fact that it may be kind of dark in terms of overall colors and layout, but still it is rather very nice. You get the speedometer on the left side, the tachometers on the right side, both get their own digital readouts as well, and on the left side is the actual fuel tank gauge, and on the right side just below the tachometer digital readout is the engine temperature gauge. The central MID provides you with all the data and essentials you need. Again, this here is the average economy with the distance to empty over here in a bar format, and the actual odometer is over here with the external temperature readout as well. This here above is the actual distance to empty. Now this MID can be controlled using the buttons on the steering wheel, the right side of the steering wheel to be precise, and pressing that will reveal other options including settings, tire pressure monitoring system and so on. Just you can toggle through all the available options on this MID. As you can see, it gets history readouts such as the trip meter A, trip meter B and so on. So it provides with all the data you need. Now coming from the digital instrument cluster, let's just talk about the touchscreen system. This here is the 8-inch touchscreen system. It provides with inbuilt navigation as well. Now coming to the menu screen, this is how it exactly looks like. It is almost the exact same system seen on the Hyundai Venue, and it also functions very well. You get Bluelink connectivity, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay and DRVM as well, which is actually a feature you can turn on the reverse camera while moving forward. You may have already seen that while driving, so that is quite nice. Again, the navigation is reasonably precise and provides you with almost well, sort of good level of precision, though people would easily prefer Google Maps by using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Still, it is good, it is quite nice, and the system itself is very slick. Now enough about the touchscreen system. You can also control the touchscreen system using the manual controls over here. The AC vents are located on the sides, and the sports, especially the turbo petrol version, will get red accents just over here instead of these 4 silver accents. So that is quite nice. Again, this here is the automatic climate control, and as I already said, the climate control is superbly bone chilling. It is very effective and very good for an Indian summer. so that is quite good. Again, you can also control the climate control using voice commands through the Blue Link system. That is quite good again. The Hyundai Verna is the only car in this category to provide ventilated seats. That is also a pretty premium feature. Along with that, you can see the seats. These are very, very comfortable and they are leather wrapped. So comfort is going to be exceptionally well in the Hyundai Verna, at least for the front seats. So coming just below that, you get other, say, connectivity options such as a 12-volt charging socket, a USB port, and there is also this smart charging USB port, which can again also be used as a 12-volt charging socket. So everything has been pretty well thought out, and you also get this wireless charging pad as well, which is of course keeping up with the times, typical of a Hyundai top spec model. Now this here is the smart key of the Hyundai Verna, and it again looks very, very premium, so that is quite nice again. And this here is the 6-speed manual transmission. This gear lever itself looks and feels very premium, and it is again very, very slick to use while driving as well. You can literally play around with this gear because it is beautifully slick. So that is good again. You get 2 cup holders over here, a manual handbrake lever, and this here is a small armrest where I have placed my spare face mask. Okay, now so coming to the right side, well, this here is the driver door, and as I already said, you get nice leather padding on the armrests as well on the doors, which is again absent on the lower spec models, but still this is quite premium. Now in terms of plastic quality, as I already said, again the top of the dash is very, very hard in terms of feel. It is definitely plasticky. I mean, I am not liking this plastic feel on such a premium sedan, because yeah, you can see the fact, I mean, just look at this dashboard. It looks really very, very good, and it has got all the features you need, including ventilated seats and this electric sunroof. However, the plastic is definitely off. It's just putting me off. Well, it may be a subjective thing, but do let me know, what do you think? The same plastic has been carried over to the doors. However, this does not feel that bad, because you can see this vast expanse of rather, say, hollow feeling plastic that kind of puts me off, but still it is okay. Now this being the top spec variant, you get almost all the safety features you need, starting with the ABS, EBD, dual airbags. Well, apart from that, you get side curtain airbags as well, along with thorax airbags for both the front passengers. As you can see, there are airbag labels on the sides of the front seats. So yeah, that was all about the airbags. Well, apart from that, you get ESP and traction control from the mid-spec variant itself, so that is quite nice again, and it is an essential feature because this engine is easily capable of doing certain higher speeds. So that was all. Now let's just get to the back seats. Yes folks, right now I'm in the back seat of the new facelifted Hyundai Verna SX optional variant, and this is how the dashboard looks like. To begin with, it is quite a premium design and looks and feels premium, and it has got almost all the premium features you'll need on a mid-size sedan. Now the plastic quality may be just a bit off, but still it is pretty good in terms of satisfaction, at least. Well, from the back seat you also can get a good view at the electric sunroof. It is of a decent size for a mid-size sedan, and it is exactly the same size as on the Honda City as well, so that is quite nice again. It provides you with an airy ambient feel, especially on such a good weather. Now coming to the rear seats, however, you can see that the space is, well, it is just about okay for me. My height is 5'11" for reference, and I have adjusted the driver's seat for my height, and the legroom is definitely just about average, to be said best. I mean, I cannot stretch out here at all. I mean, probably a shorter driver could make the rear seat experience a bit better, but still for me it is definitely not so good. The Honda City is easily better in terms of legroom over here, and of course even the Volkswagen Vento and the Rapid also are better. Now you get seat back pockets over here, which is quite a good thing. Just behind both the seats you get seat back pockets. The footroom, however, is pretty good. That is quite a nice thing to have. You can easily stretch out your feet underneath the front seats, so that is pretty good again. The width of this back seat is just about decent, so you can just about manage to squeeze 3 adults over here, but still shoulder room could be a slight issue. Now you get 2 adjustable headrests as standard only on this top spec SX optional variant, because the lower variants do not get adjustable headrests. They get only just fixed small headrests. Well, apart from the headrest, you can also see this retractable sun blind, which is available only on the top spec variants and does a good job of shielding the rear passengers from the sun. So that is quite nice. Again, this here is the center armrest, and it also gets couple cup holders. The ergonomics are perfect because the armrest is properly aligned to the door's armrest, so that is quite nice. Again, traveling in the back seat is going to be an easy experience. However, it may not be this spacious, and headroom too could be an issue for a person of my height. And yeah, that is all about the back seats of the Hyundai Verna. Let's just open the boot to check out the boot space. The boot of the Hyundai Verna can be opened by using the smart trunk function. Of course, you need to have the smart key in your pocket. Well, of course, you also can long press the trunk opening button on the key. Opening the boot lid reveals 480 liters of capacity, which is exactly the same as before. Despite not being the best in class, the overall space is quite generous and can be user-friendly. Despite the high loading lip, the overall luggage space itself is quite deep and can be useful for loading larger luggage. Opening the boot floor reveals a 15-inch steel spare wheel, which can be used for temporary purposes and with a speed limit of 80 km per hour. So that was all about the luggage space of the new facelifted Hyundai Verna SX optional variant. Another good thing is that the boot lid receives a good amount of under padding. So that was all about the boot. Let's now check out the engine. Opening the engine bay of the Hyundai Verna Facelift SX optional naturally aspirated petrol variant. This here is the 1.5 litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated petrol engine producing 115 PS of maximum power and 144 Newton meters of maximum torque through a 6-speed manual transmission. This engine is also available with an IVT or CVT automatic transmission, which is the exact same gearbox and engine combination seen on the Hyundai Creta and the Kia Seltos. The refinement is exceptional and the performance too is really very good. That was all about the engine. Now let's talk about the pricing and conclude this review. So that was a detailed review of the Hyundai Verna naturally aspirated petrol manual SX optional variant. I think that you don't actually need the turbo petrol variant because this engine itself performs very well and is much more affordable and also very economical as well. So the pricing is on the screen for you to check out the naturally aspirated petrol range of the Hyundai Verna facelift. Meanwhile, this is Viprajesh signing off. See you on another video. Thank you for watching.